This is the Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast as a service to the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which serves former collegiate athletes facing medical needs and financial challenges. Your tax-deductible contribution will change the life of a former college sports hero. Please give online at negreats.org. And now, here's your host, Jim Rose.
Thank you, Matt Tompkins. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Nebraska Greats Foundation podcast, a service of the Nebraska Greats Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that serves former collegiate letter winners, many of the 16 Nebraska four-year schools who have a medical need and a financial challenge. You can learn more online at www.negreats.org. Now, those who have followed our podcast, which is fast growing in popularity on multiple platforms around the country, typically these discussions will be with former athletes from any of the 16 schools, former coaches and sports personalities. I thought we'd switch it up today and actually, instead of go back in time or revisit games we've already seen, now let's talk to one of the rising young athletes in Nebraska, somebody who is gaining tremendous strides and is making a national presence for herself in golf. This is high school senior-to-be Kaitlyn Hanna of Omaha. And you're a busy young lady. You're traveling all over the countryside. Tell us where you've been most recently, Kaitlyn.
Yeah, so my tournament started over here at Stone Creek Golf Course in Omaha at the Junior PGA. I was lucky enough to shoot -6 and qualify for the national tournament, Junior PGA at Valhalla Country Club. So that will be later in July. And, just being able to be invited into the Western Junior, which was in Illinois, which is the longest, so 93rd, the longest junior tournament around. So getting to play with the girls who are going to college next fall and compete with them at some, really nice courses. And I just got back from North Carolina and got to play at Pinehurst, number 2 and number 6. So being able to play at courses that pros play at, and, they're playing tough greens, long courses. That's pretty cool. So
this is not new for you. You've been playing some of the best golf courses in the country for the last 5 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. Take us back to some of those courses. Well, let's stop for a second and let me ask you about your schedule. Mm-hmm. When school is out, because you play golf in the fall in school in Nebraska, girls high school golf is a fall sport. So when do you begin your other golf schedule in the spring and summer? And how many tournaments have you played in already this year?
Yeah, so right after school ends, end of May, I go straight into tournaments. So I played June, I had 5 tournaments, which is the most I've ever played in. So I haven't gotten to practice much just because I'm going from tournaments to tournaments. But this year, definitely, looking at colleges, so I want to get my name out there and play in bigger tournaments. So I've played in about 5 tournaments so far, and I'll be able to take a little bit of break in July and play in a few more. So, and
then high school golf starts up in the month of August. But that's got to be, you don't want to use the term come down, but given the level of competition that you've played and the golf courses on which you've played, high school golf is almost a little bit of a hobby. At least it turns out that way.
Yeah, and high school golf has helped me so much, especially with my short game. We play quite a bit closer, so I'm able to work a lot of my 100 yards and in, which is definitely my biggest strength. So I'm able to use that, going into these more national tournaments. That really helps me right around the green.
How long have you been playing competitive golf? You're 17, 18, you're going to be a senior. How long have you been in tournaments where they keep score?
I started, the Nebraska Junior Golf Tour probably when I was about 6, 7. So I've been, playing competitively for a long time, and being able to have these Nebraska golf tournaments just around, especially locally, with young girls and boys is pretty cool to just be able to start at such a young age.
You played in the national drive, chip, and putt competition from Augusta National. That's where they play the Masters at age 12. What was it like to play? Did you know what you were doing? Were you engulfed by the situation, or were you just zeroed in on driving, chipping, and putting those couple of days?
Yeah, at first I was like, obviously my dad and my parents are freaking out. They're like, man, we're going to Augusta. And at first I was like, man, this must be a really cool place. And you walk out there and it's just like, it's so open. It's like, it kind of takes your breath away because you don't see that type of the course on TV. So it's been 5 years. So my memory's a little bit, but it's pretty cool. I got to meet a whole bunch of people and, Jordan Spieth, people from the Golf Channel. So I stay in connection with a lot of people through that event. And the Masters, I would love to go back. I know they have a women's amateur there that a lot of college players can be invited to and qualify for. So that would definitely be a goal to make it back there and actually play on the course.
So did you play on the par 3 course for that event, or how did the drive, chip, and putt competition at Augusta National actually work?
Yeah, so we did, we actually used the driving range. So the same ones that all the pros use for the Masters, and got to do 3 drives there. And then we just went over to kind of the short game area that you can kind of see, when the Masters is taking place. They have a lot of interviews over there. So we did our chipping over there, and then our putting was on the 18th green, which was pretty cool. And they had the same pin location that they do on Sundays. When you're standing on the putting green, it doesn't feel like the 18th hole. Like, it's just like everyone's all around it, but it's so cool. And getting to play, especially at such a young age, getting to experience inside of the ropes at Augusta was pretty cool.
Visiting with Kaitlyn Hanna. This is the outstanding junior golfer in Nebraska and has been for most of the last several years. Started winning tournaments started playing in them at age 6 and 7. And you've won a lot of tournaments. If you ever have a chance to see Kaitlyn's bedroom, this is sort of like a trophy shop, okay? You walk into a trophy shop and they have all of the examples of trophies and medals and awards you can win. And every one of them has her name on them. It's amazing. What's of all of the tournaments that you've won so far, and you have a lot more to win, which ones have made the most impact on you? Which ones did you sit back and say, that was a good one to win? Man, that's cool to have won that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 tournaments kind of come to mind. The Nebraska Junior Amateur was my first big tournament in 2019. And that kind of just showed me, I can win tournaments, especially, girls that are, I'm competing with year round, going to go play college maybe next year. So that was pretty cool. It's one of my biggest tournaments at a young age. And then most recently, the Midwest Championship that was held at Glen Oaks, which was home to the Senior Open for a few years. And that was, I came back. I was down 7 strokes after the 36-hole day and came back and shot -1 and won in a playoff. So that was pretty cool to see how I can, grind back and still come out with a victory.
All right. So what is your weekly routine when you're not playing in a tournament every weekend? What do you do during the year? If this was, Scottsdale, Arizona, you could go out and play golf almost every day on a course. Can't do that in Nebraska. So how does Kaitlyn Hanna of Omaha stay on top of golf year round? Yeah.
So in the winter, I do play for my high school basketball team. So I'm able to compete at a high level there. And Westside just opened up the first indoor golf facility in the U.S. for a public high school. So I'm able to go in there when it's, freezing outside and hit into a 4-site simulator and putt and chip. So that's, obviously awesome. And, in the summer, I try to go 5 to 6 times a week out to Champions Run, my home course. And, kind of practice there. I try to do, about an hour of on the driving range. I'm not someone who's going to hit, 300 balls right away. And then I spend almost all of my time over at the short game area. That's where I gain a lot of my strokes and gain strokes on other people. And so I spend a lot of time over there.
Yeah. The whole game is 100 yards and in.
Yeah.
People will spend $300 on a driver and $14 on a putter. Mm-hmm. And they wonder why they never score better. But yeah, it's all 100 yards and in. So how did you get to golf? When did golf occur to you? When did you pick up when did you know this was something that, number one, you were really good at, and number two, you enjoy?
Yeah. So I first started, I guess I held the club first when I was really young, probably about 4. My dad helped run the Cox Classic at Champions. So we hosted a golfer from Columbia, which was awesome, for about 7 years. And he took me up to the youth clinics at the Cox Classic and was able to, work with them and just kind of swing the club. And then obviously when I went to the Nebraska junior golf tournaments, I played 1 or 2 of them every week. I always played up just for better competition. And I think that's what really helped me because I didn't know a lot of the girls. So I was able to, kind of dial in a little bit more. And then kind of going back to that 2019 win at the junior amateur, that's when I kind of knew that I can win tournaments and compete.
But you were winning tournaments before 2019.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe they were youth tournaments, but somebody has to finish in first place. Somebody has to play the best golf. Mm-hmm. So that was you. So was that when your competitive streak began? When did you feel like, okay, I enjoy playing golf, but now I really want to go be the best player?
Yeah, probably about, 9 or 10. I was able to not go into tournaments knowing I was going to win, but having a good chance. Just because I practiced so much that at Champions and with my coaches and, playing in a lot of these local tournaments at a younger age helped with that rather than getting, nationally noticed right away at such a young age. Just helped me, stay more humble in the game. And so I think playing in these tournaments around Omaha, competing with local girls helped and pushed me more.
Visiting with Kaitlyn Hanna. This is the elite junior golfer in the state of Nebraska and has been for most of the last 10 years. This is the Nebraska Greats podcast. You can find us online at negreats.org. Having played so many great golf courses, you talked about Pinehurst. You haven't played Augusta National, but you've been there. Valhalla, Glen Oaks is one of the premier courses in the Midwest. You've certainly played all the great Nebraska courses. Which ones so far have stood out to you and why?
I would say at kind of like a national area, Pinehurst is always so cool. I mean, being able to go there and you see, that's kind of where golf, that's where it's all right there, So you go there every week and there's always a tournament, and especially being where the pros play, for the Open in a few years. Playing number 2 was awesome. And, being able, I made 6 birdies on number 2. So that's pretty, my short game just really helped, especially with those greens. And, you can't stick them as well there because it's just so hard and sand based. So you have to kind of use your chipping and stuff like that. So that was definitely a course that I could go to every single year.
Now, you understand it's one of the top golf courses in the world. Many think it's the number 1 golf course in the country. You're not supposed to make 6 birdies on the number 1 golf course in the country. I don't know if you understand that yet, Kaitlyn, but it's important for you to sober up and stop making birdies on the best golf courses in the world. Otherwise, nobody's going to invite you to play. Can you imagine some 65-year-old member at Pinehurst going, what's she doing making 6 birdies on the front 9? I make 6 birdies this decade. So you have to be really proud of yourself when you take on the best golf courses. How do you practice when you're out on the course practicing your game? You talked about how you don't just hit 300 balls, which people sometimes do, and that's probably counterproductive, especially if you have bad habits. But when you're out on the course playing or when you're on a practice round before a tournament, what do you zero in on? Yeah,
I've wanted to get better at longer shots into the green. So I try to play the hole normally like I'm playing a normal round. I'll drop a few balls here and there in the rough or different, situations, but, I just try to get in the habit of just playing a normal round of 18. And if I want to redo shots, I do that. But golf is just, you don't get second tries, in golf. You have to dial in and focus on the ball right there. So that's really kind of the biggest thing that I think has helped me is, you can't control everything. So just swing the ball like you have been and all your training and from your coaches and everyone. And, so let's see what happens and go from there. That's kind of what I've always done.
What about a warm-up? Every golfer warms up differently, but what is your warm-up routine before you play a round of 18?
Yeah, so I go to the range, for example, before a tournament. I try to get there about an hour and a half before. Go to the range for about 40 minutes, just kind of get warmed up and hitting solid shots. And then again, I go to putting and chipping. I spend all of my time there because feel the greens is really important. And then, I take breaks here and there because, you have to do that for golf. And it helps me mentally to just, it's a big tournament, but we also need to kind of stay within myself and feel for the greens is really important, especially, 10 feet right around. And that's really what helped me.
So now we have somebody who's sort of rising through the ranks of national junior golf. And you mentioned that you have met a lot of people in the game of golf and you stayed in contact with them. So who are some of the famous people who are following you on Instagram or, who follow you on Twitter or follow you on social media? Who are some names that people might recognize?
I've gotten really good contact with Peter Jacobson. He's on the Golf Channel and played a lot professionally. And it's just so cool. When I went to the drive chip putt, he knew all about me after reading my bio. And, he sends me stuff and I'll send him stuff to look over. And Peter Jacobson has just definitely been, he's high up there. So just be able to keep that connection and, always have someone to send college stuff to look over, whatever it is. That's pretty cool.
It's not easy to find golf partners that are as good as you. So who do you play golf with if you're not competing? I mean, do you like playing with other people? Do you like playing in groups? Do you prefer to play alone? And if you play with other people, who?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of my friends are athletes and they play golf. Just kind of, what I've always kind of known and grown up with. And so, I'll try to play a lot with the boys team and, we'll get out there and play some cool courses here in Omaha. And occasionally they'll back out every once in a while when I bring one of my other teammates from Nebraska. But it always turns into a competition or sometimes even like a mini golf lesson. Like, hey, how did you do that shot? Like, what do you do in this situation? Which helps me, better my knowledge of the game. And so it's always fun to just get out there and play, but it always turns into a competition.
Ever had a hole-in-one?
I have never had a hole-in-one. I've had it on like Wii Golf, if you've ever heard of that. Yeah. But never in real life.
How close? How close have you come?
I've hit the pin once or twice, but this is how far. It's so close. It's
Yeah, it's the great white whale that's eluded me too. I mean, with my fantastic swing, it's improbable that I haven't hit a hole-in-one yet. But I'm one of those. Some people that are like 29 and 30 handicappers have 1 and 2 holes in one. See, there's something wrong in the world when somebody who's a 30 handicapper has a hole-in-one. Meanwhile, Kaitlyn Hanna, who's winning tournaments, hasn't yet had a hole-in-one. You're going to be playing college golf a year from now, and I'm sure that there are lots of people interested. What is most important to you as you look over the list of candidates who are offering scholarships to you?
Yeah. So I really want to stay in the Midwest. Obviously I'm close with my family, but I feel like I adapt to all the different weathers, especially rain. I play a lot of that in high school golf and when I travel. So staying in the Midwest, which means you need to have a good indoor facility. So a lot of these colleges I'm talking to have great indoor facilities and alumni that support the program and the school that supports them. And ultimately, I want to go to a college where I can continue to grow athletically and academically. If that's just to push me maybe to go pro or whatever that may be, it's kind of my key points in college. Yeah.
Are you following this name, image, and likeness program that the NCAA and NCAA college athletes now have access to? There are some with exceptionally large Twitter followings and Instagram followings, and now suddenly they are a part of the advertising community and can reap some financial rewards. But I would think that somebody like you in golf, it's a targeted audience, and I would think somebody like Kaitlyn Hanna would be very, very interested to know what opportunities are there and could be very interesting to the advertising community. Are you connected to any of that stuff yet? Are you spending any time on that yet?
Yeah, I've kind of looked at different athletes that, get deals and sponsorship from, lately from these different corporations. But I just think what's really cool is how these athletes are getting noticed for what they're doing. And, especially if they're competing well and winning tournaments and, games and stuff like that. So I think that's what the biggest thing is, it's pushing them to get better and it's going to push me to get better. And just kind of stay connected with the local fans and competition. A
lot of athletes will have some sort of motivational tactic. baseball teams will have pictures of the other team having a dog pile on their field to either win a championship or get into a tournament or something. Others will have some sort of message that motivates them to reach their ultimate goal. Number one, what's your ultimate goal, Kaitlyn Hanna? Number two, what motivational techniques do you use?
Yeah, so right now my goal is to compete at a high level in college and to help that team, win championships, go to NCAAs. That's really my ultimate goal for right now at the moment. And, for motivation, I know I can continue to get better, and, playing basketball has really helped me with the culture wise. You can't control everything. So do the best at what you can control. And, I'm not going to win every single tournament. And when I don't win, I learn a lot. So what can I do to dial in on each of the kind of aspects of the game? And that kind of really motivates me.
All right. Kaitlyn, it's great talking to you. Thanks for your time. Congratulations on your success so far. But, man, it's just starting.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. That's Kaitlyn Hanna of Omaha. Remember that name, okay? You know all about the former athletes and the stars of the past, but keep this name in mind and be watching for her future college golf, national championship tournaments, and even potentially the Ladies Professional Golf Association. This has been the Nebraska Greats podcast. It's a joy to have all of you here. Thank you for joining us. Please spread the word. And again, learn more about the Nebraska Greats Foundation and its mission of serving former athletes in medical and financial need online at www.negreats.org. Until next time, this is Jim Rose saying so long. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again.
This has been Nebraska Greats, a weekly podcast serving the Nebraska Greats Foundation. You can find each episode on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Please give generously to serve Nebraska's former sports heroes in need at negreats.org. And be sure to follow the NE Greats on Facebook and Twitter.